Ashish Pandya is reviving the ancient wisdom of Ayurveda worldwide. Through his work as the Vice President of Education for the Skincare and Body brand Shankara, and as a faculty teacher at the Art of Living Foundation in Los Angeles, he travels the globe teaching programs on happiness, breathing, and meditation. As one of the world's most sought-after spa trainers today, Ashish has instructed over 100,000 service providers in the world's top spas, resorts, and wellness retreats. Ashish is unified in his intention to be of service to the world. At We Care Spa, we believe that if we can follow Susanna's path and reconnect with those earliest, sometimes forgotten parts of ourselves, we can become whole again. Today, I'm thrilled to share the fast with Ashish Pandya. Ashish, welcome to the fast.
Thank you.
It is such an honor to sit and talk to you today. We've known each other for
It was over a decade?
about
Yeah.
10 years now, and I've always been so impressed with your presence, your knowledge, and your true commitment to health and wellness.
Thank you.
Thank you
Likewise.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, you are originally from India, so I would love to know what brought you to America in 1998.
Engineering, artificial intelligence, actually. So I did my master's out of Texas Tech here, and I came to study and become engineer in AI, which now it's taking over the world. But that was back in 1998 when I came. And I was involved more in medical AI at that time, building artificial heart valves and things like that.
So, how do you make the transition from a very scientific, very medically driven type of career to the work you're doing today?
It actually happened very naturally. I was like, when I was working also in the field, I was in my cubicle and I felt more connected with people. So instead of computer, connection with people made more sense to me and naturally.
Right.
And so it became naturally that, and then I was invited to actually help with Shankara, the skincare brand that we all know about. So, yeah.
How do they find you?
I was with actually Gurudev Sri Ravi Shankar, and on an advanced meditation retreat program in Colorado. And so he had created a team of people like a cosmetic chemist and a nutritionist and an Ayurveda expert and all of that, and inspired them to create a skincare line that would give health and wellness to people that appreciated health and wellness in their life, and then give back 100% of the net profits to humanitarian causes. So when I was introduced to this and invited, I was like, yes, I want to work for a company that's not just interested in their bank balance, but doing something for the community locally and globally.
So did you come in your capacity from your medical AI background to Shankara, or did you come as Ashish, the person interested in this type of work?
I came, Patrick, as just myself because I believed in the vision, I believed in the mission, I believed in the cause that Shankara was doing. Although growing up in India, I was surrounded by Ayurveda. I grew up in that field, but sometimes it's like it's there and you don't value it so much. So I didn't care so much about Ayurveda back in India until actually I joined Shankara.
Right.
And I started really learning the depth and the breadth of this whole science of life. And that really opened my eyes. And then yes, so I did not bring the experience and expertise or academic learnings from my AI field or that medical heart valve thing, or none of that was employed for Shankara, but it was just my passion and eagerness to sort of help humanity.
You just referred to the work with Shankara as life science. What was the science that you were doing before?
Before Shankara, my science was in the field of engineering, artificial intelligence, decoding and coding and all of that things, and that is more of the science that we know of today is more of analyzing things,
Right.
right? It's like, why is this happening? What is this about? How is this happening, right? And this ancient science of life, which is known as Ayurveda, is about synthesizing, bringing things together. And I feel that is what the world needs today.
Can you go deeper into this idea of synthesizing versus the sort of rigors of what we would call Western science?
And it's a beautiful question, actually. And it is about, the duality that we all face between the head and the heart. Head is about analyzing, heart is about synthesizing, isn't it? And so head always is like, and that's the role of the head, is to really analyze and, make sense, have that critical intellectual engagement. And heart is about always longs for, or is about bringing people together, bringing situations together, bringing harmony. And bringing harmony in one's life is wisdom of life, or is Ayurveda.
That's the science of life.
That is the science of life, yes.
And is there an inherent tension between the head and the heart, and which will lead or predominate in the person?
That depends, actually. See, you need both, right? In any practical situation, any business dealing, you cannot make decisions from your heart. You have to engage your intellect. You have to engage your head, right? But when it is family, when it is relationships, right? Then we cannot count, how much I'm contributing and how much the other person is contributing. There it comes from the heart, where you're giving. So we need both, The skill, which is the art of living, the skill is in balancing this and knowing when to use which one.
What was your life like before you crossed the seas to America? Were you engaged in this kind of thinking, this kind of philosophy there? Or did you come to that later once you sort of walked past the sort of more traditional scientific work that you were doing?
I was, Patrick, I was always, as far as I can remember, always a seeker. Like I would go with my grandmother to meditation programs, and even as young as maybe 5-6 years old, like she would take me because I would sit still. I would be quiet. I was not that. No. So she would always take me to these things. So as far as I can remember, I've been a seeker. But when I experienced the magic of Sudarshan Kriya, cognized by Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, I felt I reached home. I came home. So then it's more from seeking. I've transitioned more from seeking to sharing.
Susanna, who is our founder of We Care Spa, talks a lot about being on the right paths and knowing when those moments come when you have to make a choice about which direction you're going to go, and being very intentional about that. Was that transition easy for you, or did you struggle against it?
So I don't know as a transition, because I've kind of always, but there are challenges that keeps coming. The tendencies, the emotional cycles or the negativity, and we all get gripped by it. And so I won't say that, okay, we've learned the breath work or I've championed the breath work and meditation, so I don't feel the emotional imbalances or highs and lows. No, we do. I do. Right? But it doesn't stick so much. Using the breath, using the techniques, you come out of it much faster.
Right.
And you live your life more present, more fully. So yes, I mean, there was not a turning point in my life as some event happened which brought me to this or something. But it was just like an invitation from my, my cousin's sister. She said, "Why don't you try this?" And I was like, at that time, actually, I was a professional tennis player back in India. So I was like, "Oh,
Wait a minute. See now you're getting to the all the true. So wait, you play tennis?
I do. I play leagues now and stuff. I don't play professionally, obviously, but I used to. and so I was like, oh, breath work, it will help me with my stamina, presence of mind, and all of that. And so I was like, okay, won't hurt. So I went in for like just to help with my, tennis career and stuff. But then I learned the whole art of living. Yeah.
So tennis player, AI student, engineering, and now a person, thought leader on how to live a life of integration between your heart and your mind through Shankara in terms of a life science.
Yes.
And you work with the Art of Living Center in Los Angeles. Can you tell us what that is and what the mission of the Art of Living is?
Yes. So actually, it's the mission of the founder, Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, is to put a smile on every face. Celebrate life, right? Today, the world is going back and forth between aggression and depression. A genuine smile, happiness is a lost word for so many, and that is the mission, that is the vision of Art of Living. And so I became a teacher for the program, or the facilitator, back in 2008. And before that, I've been conducting different meditation programs also with the Art of Living Foundation. And although I feel like I'm sharing, I receive so much, because when I see a genuine smile, or that shedding of that shell of that stress, and the transformation happening, that brings so much contentment, and true happiness. And yeah, I mean, once you experience that, once you taste that, there is no going back.
No.
Kind of.
No. And so, who is Ravi Shankar, and why did you choose to follow him?
So Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, when he was 4 years old, he started spontaneously reciting ancient scriptures of Bhagavad Gita, and and from his very early childhood, he wanted to make a difference, but he didn't know how or what. And then after 10 days of silence, like a poem comes to a poet, this technique came with the mission, with the vision of sharing it with the whole world, And he has been selflessly doing that, sharing the techniques and programs. And over 500 million people have benefited in 190 countries, over 190 countries around the world. And so, like I said, I was always a seeker from a very young age, and I would go to different, forms of yoga retreats or meditation programs, or, chanting sessions and things like that. But when I experienced the power of Sudarshan Kriya, I feel I reached home. And when you reach home, you always want to thank the person that brought you home in some sense, and that is how he became my guru, spiritual guide, right? Guru is, so we all need a guru, right? Whether you want to learn how to drive, you learn how to read, we always had a teacher, but we have never really appreciated a teacher that helps you with your own mind. It's so intricate, it's so mystical, the nature of our own mind, right? And in the spiritual world, it's the guru is the one that connects or brings your mind inward to connect it with your own self.
The language that you're using, mysticism, connection with yourself, connection with another human being, has a spiritual connotation to it.
Yes.
Is this a spiritual practice? And within the context of this, is there, in your mind, in the belief system, a God?
Okay, this is a very loaded question. So, when you say God, right, the three qualities that makes God, which is omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient, right? So, when you say God, God is everywhere, right? So, it's in you and me. So, there is no God out there, putting a finger down kind of a thing. God is everywhere, right? It's all within and around, right? And the journey of a seeker is to realize within yourself. Gurudev says it so beautifully. He says meditation is seeing God within, and love is seeing God in the person next to you. And that's all we need.
You've synthesized it to a very easy, but I think complex concept of putting a smile on someone else's face. Why is that so hard for us to do? What is the block?
Stress and ignorance. These are the only two blocks. Right? Either people don't realize themselves because there is so much demand from the outer world upon us, or we have self-imposed demands or perfection or being somebody at some level, and so these are all self-imposed. So, and that is between stress and ignorance, because we don't realize who we are.
And who are we?
And very low. It is so beautiful. Also, again, I'm just being a parrot here, but again, Gurudev says, see, one who really knows will not tell you, because it is your own journey. And one who tells you, know that they don't know.
It's paradox.
It is. Is who you are, the intellect cannot go there. It's your intellect that understands. But you are much more than your intellect. Right? You're beyond. See, there are 7 levels of who we are. Right? One is the body, the physical body. And what keeps this body alive is the breath. Right? It is the breath. See, like the life of the fish is in the water, not in the body. If you pull the body out of the water, the fish dies. Isn't it? Similarly, our life, this body is alive because of air, because of the breath. Right?
Okay.
If you pull this body out of the atmosphere, it won't survive. Right? So body, breath. And the third level is the mind that perceives everything around the world through all the 5 senses. Right? And then we get into the subtle levels of consciousness, which people don't know. So mind takes everything in, and it is the intellect, the 4th level of our consciousness, that discriminates, that judges, that, okay, yes, this information is good for me. This I disagree. This is not good for me or not healthy for me. That level of consciousness is intellect. That we say right, wrong, agree, disagree. I like this, I don't like this. I want this, I don't want this. Right? That gets sharpened through meditation. And then all those experience of yes, no, right, wrong, like, dislikes, love, hate is stored in a bubble called memory, the 5th level of our existence. And study has shown, Patrick, that 97% of all the decisions we take in our life are colored by our own memory. 97% of the decisions, right? That is why intellectually we know that this habit is not good for me. Drinking coffee, whatever it is not good for me. But the memory is stronger of that conditioning of drinking something or having something that doesn't allow the intellect to shine. So memory overpowers the intellect, which is the 5th. And then when you start identifying all of these experiences as you, that becomes ego, the 6th level of our existence. And beyond the ego is who you really are. The self, the soul, the being, right? So it's beautiful. In the Art of Living or the Sky Breath meditation program, we actually get to understand, not only understand, but experience all the 7 levels of who we really are.
And when you understand your ego and who you are, is that nirvana transcending? Is that the journey of the 100 years we are on the planet? Is that when you is it a journey towards understanding who you are in the unspoken sense of that word?
Yes.
Beyond the habit.
Yes. And you don't have to spend so much time. It used to take a lot of time to really understand. But that is the beauty of an enlightened master, like Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar. There are techniques now. See, everything is so fast paced,
Right.
right, in today's world. I mean, to communicate to other part of like to call India, I can actually see my mom or my friends on a video. And so technology has made this world a village, and spirituality makes this world a family.
Why do you think we in the West are starting to embrace these principles so much that you're talking about? I think in the past, people feared it. And now people are looking for something beyond the sort of structures that we grew up with thinking were truth. And people are testing and searching for greater meaning. Why do you think now we're doing that?
I mean, it's a seeking of every soul, right? But it's like looking for things in different places. So I like to tell this story. It's like, once this guy lost his keys, but he was looking at the lamp under the street lamp, and he was looking like, where is my key? Where's my key? So then few people also joins him and start helping him to look for his keys. And then one guy asked him, hey, where did you lose your key? He said, inside the house. He said, why are you looking here? He said, because there is light here. We all are seeking that, but then we look for that in nightclubs or drink or pubs or relationship or this thing, that thing, where the real source is within. And so, even yesterday I was saying that in some sense, lockdown closed us physically, but opened our mind to all the different things that is available for humanity. So in some sense, this is a blessing of lockdown, of the pandemic, where people had no choice but to look at themselves.
Right.
And open up to, like, what is this mind? Why am I, feeling all these things?
Right.
And so they are seeking more so than ever before.
Do you think also perhaps it's that when institutions fail, it sort of takes away a key anchor that we relied upon?
Right.
And so if things that we thought were solid all of a sudden disappear,
Right.
or really shift, it forces us to look for meaning beyond the habit
Yes.
that you referred to earlier.
Yeah. Yes.
Why do you think Shankara has been so successful? I know you've trained about 50,000 people in your time with Shankara. And I've gone through your training, so I know what the training is. I have my own opinions about it, but I want to hear from you why you think it's been so successful and why it's life-changing for so many people.
See, with Shankara, when we designed the trainings for the SPA team, the purpose was to empower them. See, you can only give what you have. That was my motto, right? You can only share what you have, right? You can only do charity when you have tons of money. You can only give or share food when you have abundance, right? You can only share health and happiness if you are healthy and happy. So with Shankara training, the goal is to empower all the therapists and aestheticians, the spa employees, the spa team, with that health and happiness, with the tools. So right from even, choosing the oils, it's customized. The way we infuse high vibrational frequency in all of our oils. And it is the therapist that uses the oil day in and day out, right? So before we go to Shankara, usually therapists are drained at the end of the day and they're worked up and burnt out and stuff. But what we have seen from the time when they bring Shankara, whether it's just the oils and stuff, and even before they get into training, they start feeling and experiencing a shift in themselves because they're absorbing all those high vibrational products as they're applying and working with the guest. The guest obviously is getting it,
Right.
and their life is getting it. But so every key aspect, even the name Shankara, right? So that has a meaning.
Yes.
You know this. It's like we were so intentional and purposeful in naming the company so that it brings like shh. Anywhere in the world would mean silence, quiet down. And when we expand that shh, so the meaning is present in the vibrations of the sound. Like anywhere in the world, you go, wow, right? It's just a sound, but you know that they are excited about something. Anywhere in the world you go, it means it's yummy, isn't it? The
Yeah.
meaning is present in the vibrations of the sound. And so, when we expand that to shun, it resonates with vibrations of peace. And Kara is one who invokes that. So even the guest is like, oh, I received a Shankara treatment, I got a Shankara product, or at the spa team, you say, oh, I went for Shankara training. Whenever someone says Shankara, somewhere within their own consciousness, they are invoking the vibrations of peace, right? So from choosing the name, enhancing the qualities of the oils and the herbs that are present with high vibrational chants and music, and then giving them practical tools, breathwork and meditation techniques for the spa team, so that they feel stress-free, they feel healthy and happy. So when they touch or work on the guest, it's a real connection, and that's what people are looking for today. So I think that's why Shankara is successful.
Yeah. You did some work with the 9/11 families. Can you talk about that and
Yes.
the work you did, but also how doing that work impacted you?
Yes, it was. And sorry, I'm choking up because it was a very grave situation. So I was actually invited by Pentagon because I was doing some stress management programs and stuff like that. So through Art of Living, the Pentagon partnered with the Art of Living Foundation. And I was one of the teachers that got invited to Washington, D.C. at the Pentagon. And it was very interesting. So I did two sort of workshops, morning and evening. Morning was actually with the U.S. Marshals, and evening was with the victims of the Pentagon, right? So when I did my workshop with U.S. Marshals, it was very interesting. They would actually come to my program or the Art of Living program after 18 hours of shift,
Wow.
and they would still not be able to close their eyes because they were so wired, about what just happened in this country, right? Everybody was so wired, and so it took 3 days, but at the end of the third day of the workshop and the program, I mean, these people, they were in tears, because we, especially in the West, we are trained to bottle up our emotions. Don't express, and especially if when you're on the job.
Right.
And especially for the people at in military in at Marshals, U.S. Marshals, and all these people, they broke down, they became real, and so grateful for the techniques and stuff. And then on the flip side, in the evening with the victims, we spent, and they had their own traumas. They lost their colleagues, some of them lost their family members and stuff like that. So it was for me also life-changing, as much as it impacted the victims and U.S. Marshal teams and stuff. So yeah, my in some sense, I was a seeker and things when I was in India, on these journeys.
Yeah.
But my real learning and sharing started when I came here, because I got so many opportunities and impacting real life people.
9/11, I lived in New York during 9/11. So I remember that day and the weeks after like it was yesterday. Like it's still, yeah.
Right.
And it was a trauma for, I think, the city, the citizens, the country,
Yeah.
much of the world. How do you heal trauma?
With time. So with time, naturally, life continues and moves on, but also there are two ways I feel. One is using your own breath, your own personal techniques, meditation, mindfulness, breath work, all this. Another way of healing trauma is selfless service, right? Sometimes, we start enjoying the trauma and we don't want to come out of it. This is little deeper.
Yes.
But, it is sometimes, we go through and we don't want to come out. We start taking pity on our own self, and that becomes a norm. But when you open your eyes and go out and serve others that are less fortunate, that are, even worse situation, even in bad situation than you are in, then you suddenly realize and something opens up. And then you suddenly, a shift happens when you go out and serve others that are going through even worse time than you are, and then you don't worry so much about your own traumas. And then a shift, when that shift happens, then it doesn't bother you. See, trauma is what that keeps bothering you,
Right.
right? Again and again, after the event has passed, right? And when you start helping others that are in need, then it doesn't bother you. You get more enthusiasm, more energy. And that shift can change your whole life.
Where is forgiveness in this philosophy, in this life science of Ayurveda? What is the role of forgiveness?
In real sense, there is nothing as forgiveness. I'm actually
It just is. Or
the thing is, to forgive someone, you have to see them as criminal, or if something that they have done wrong. Right? See, you will only forgive me because you see me as I've done something wrong. But when you start seeing them as victim of situation or victim of ignorance or of stress, then you only have compassion. Right?
okay, I'm working through that.
Yes. So forgiveness is subtly saying you have done wrong, and which a situation may have happened where it is done wrong. But even a step above forgiveness is compassion. When you see beyond the action that, oh, this person himself is a victim of their own stress, ignorance, or situation, right? Because what happens when you see somebody else as they're wrong, the feeling you get makes you wrong. Is this making sense?
It is making sense. I'm walking through the steps with you of what you're saying, because I think we talk a lot about forgiveness, but I think what you're saying is it's a higher action experience to remove blame and to find love, compassion for the person.
And that helps you. Actually, compassion, as much as it is for them. See, when you start blame or you feel anger and then you work on forgiveness, it's an effort.
You never get it.
Exactly.
You never get there.
Right? This is a secret of mind. Right? What you resist persists. See, there are certain laws in the physical world, right? Like if you drop something, it will come down to the ground, which is the law of gravity.
Right.
There are certain laws of consciousness. And one such law is what you resist persists. Right? The more you want to forgive or forget that situation, the more you stay connected with that. And it is difficult. That is why what you just said, that it never really truly happens.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And that's where you have to shift and know that that event happened or that situation happened or that action happened out of stress or ignorance. And then when you understand this, and that happens when you are stress-free. When you are stress-free, then you can easily see that, and then only love and compassion. And that is natural. You don't have to work on it.
I'm thinking of people that I think that I need to forgive, and I'm like, can I step into compassion for them? It's a very hard concept. It's not an easy concept, at least for me.
And I feel you're absolutely correct. It becomes easier as we learn how to first of all, we have to forgive ourselves.
Right. Compassion for yourself.
Yes, compassion for ourselves, right? So many times we take ourselves so seriously and are so hard on ourselves, So that once that happens, that is the first step of forgiving the world, is forgiving yourself, having compassion for yourself. And once you are at that state, then it's easier.
Tell us about the book you're writing.
So I am actually writing a book with my co-author on unveiling Ayurveda. right? Which is about the science of life that we have been discussing, right? And it's very easy. So it's actually written or done in a way which is more adaptable for Western audience, for all of us here, in Europe and in America, like this. So it's very palatable, but very practical.
Lots of short words. Not too many multisyllabic words.
No,
in them.
not so much of those Ayurveda and all this. They have very tongue-twisted names and things.
Yes.
So that is something that I have kind of perfected over the last 23 years of teaching Ayurveda in the spa industry and around. So then wherever I would go and do events, and people were like, "Do you have a book?" So I've been asked for this book for almost 7 years now, and so I said, okay, we should try it. And so I've been working on it for 2.5 years, and it's getting ready to launch.
This question may not make sense in the context of what we're talking about, but what do you find to be your greatest challenges?
When you have a family and 2 daughters and work and everything, so challenges happens. I think my greatest challenge that I face today is knowing when to stop. And sometimes it's like the candle burning on both ends. Right. So with everything, and that's probably why we need We Care Spa. That's for everybody, but also for healers to come and rejuvenate and take a pause. So I would say that would be my greatest challenge right now. Is internally. So we all face, we all live in two worlds, right? The outer world and the inner world.
Right.
And outer world comprises of people, situation, and things. Inner world is our emotions, feelings, thoughts, memory, all of that, right? So the outer world challenge is knowing when to stop. And inner world challenge, I would say, is staying consistent with my meditation practice. Sometimes I get pulled and then I skip sometimes. And so, but yeah.
I have a question. And I'm thinking back to this whole idea of forgiveness, and I'm thinking about the current social angst that we're living in now. And I wonder if we're looking at it from the wrong perspective. If we're looking at it from a perspective of winners and losers, a zero-sum game, versus the perspective of how do we find more compassion, you would say first for ourselves, but then how do we find compassion for the people with whom we have philosophical, political, social differences? And is that idea of compassion possible?
Yes. And for that begins, I feel, with acceptance. See, there is diversity in creation. Right? It's not just one type of fruit or one type of vegetables. Otherwise, if the nature created only potatoes as vegetable, we'll get so bored, right? So there is so much diversity in creation. And people have the different colors of people, different, thoughts and mindsets of people and stuff like that. So there is diversity everywhere in the creation. Right? So I think the first step towards forgiveness or compassion towards the divisive ideological differences or political differences, social differences, whatever it is, the first step is acceptance.
Back to acceptance.
Yes. That yes, nature has created like this. And people are there. See, some people grow up with certain mindset or something where they don't have choice. It's circumstantial. Right? And so acceptance, then forgiveness, then compassion. I think this is the way to go.
I guess the challenge I have with it is when the differences endanger life or access for people. And that's what concerns me. And I also feel like there is a piece of it, there is a diversity of flowers and trees, but they don't fear each other.
That's true.
So I wonder how we move past fear into acceptance.
And so, Patrick, this is not passive acceptance, it's a dynamic acceptance,
Okay.
right? See, passive acceptance would be that if a burglar or somebody breaks into your home, then you don't help them with the TV. That, okay, let me help you carry it out.
Right. Let me get that for
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Where's
I've
your truck?
accepted that you've broken into, let me help you with that. No, that is not what I'm talking. I'm talking about dynamic acceptance. Dynamic acceptance is knowing that, okay, this situation is happening, which is not correct. It's endangering me or something, whatever you're saying, right? And then, so if you have a break in, accepting that dynamically gives you freedom to respond rather than react. And then either you take a baseball bat or call 911.
Right. But you make a choice.
You make a choice, but it gives you that clarity. See, what happens when we don't accept, then it is more of inaction happening out of fear. Right? Acceptance gives us that clarity and ability to respond to any situation, then react.
What has been your journey to health and wellness and healthy living?
It's continuing. The journey is still on, and it's a beautiful journey, right? And I think even here, every person that comes to We Care Spa is on that journey. And for me personally, it is every moment. You know, every moment, how that 1% better. How can I make this moment a 1% better than before? Right? And so that journey is continuing, and there is, I mean, in some sense, there is no end to perfecting, isn't it? So again, that comes with acceptance that it is what it is, but yet, without that anxiety that I am not good enough or I need to better myself, that is not there. But how can I make it better for myself and others? Will that happen? That state of mind is different.
You talk about a life in rhythm. What is that?
I mean, I have learned this from Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar or doing the Art of Living program. It's all about rhythm, and he says this beautifully. It's like a society without crying or a healthy body, a quiver-free breath, a rhythmic breath, a mind that is peaceful, an inhibition-free intellect, trauma-free memory, and an ego that encompasses all, and a sorrow-free soul is the rhythm of life.
One thing that comes up a lot is the idea of personal responsibility. And I wonder, here we talk about you can make choices. You don't have to be victimized by your past choices, your mistakes, even your victories and successes. That you get to make a choice now in the present and moving forward. Where within the concept of the life sciences of Ayurveda is this idea that you have personal responsibility and choice?
Only when you are healthy and happy can you make people around you. If you are disturbed, if you are swinging between aggression and depression, you cannot have any impact on anything. So it becomes your first and foremost responsibility for you to take care of your own mind first, your own state of mind, state of emotion, and everything, right? And that's why I think it's a beautiful marriage of Ayurveda and yoga, which is a sister science,
Yes.
right? Where you get into that journey of self-improvement, self-development, and that only when you are that. That's why it becomes naturally rather than making an effort, right? Once you're on that journey. So Ayurveda would say, yoga would say that first and foremost, apply, then supply. You apply the wisdom to your own life first, and then you can teach others, you can supply it to others. So first apply, then supply.
You make it sound so easy, but it's just so, for me, it's such a challenge.
That's why technique, when we do this 3-day program, the happiness retreat or the sky breath meditation retreat and stuff, And it is difficult, Patrick. It is not easy. See, I mean, you took so many lessons to learn how to drive. We all did, right? It's not. I mean, imagine just simple act of driving. Now it's like your second nature,
Right.
right? But that simple act took so much time. Imagine dealing with your own mind and the traumas of the memories and everything. It's not easy. But that's where the techniques helps. There are 112 different meditation and breathing techniques to help with all this, right? And we tap into one of the most powerful of these in the happiness retreat and the sky breath meditation, the Sudarshan Kriya that we learn is phenomenal. So once you learn the technique, see, once you learn, okay, I know, okay, once you learn the technique of the accelerator and the brake and all these things, then it's easy. So once you have the tools and techniques, then it becomes easy.
So we're going to have to do a happiness retreat.
We have to do it
here at We Care Spa.
Yes, we have to do it
soon.
Yes.
You mentioned earlier the power of breath work and meditation, and we did some meditating yesterday. It's very hard for me to sit still and just breathe.
You did great.
Well, I kept thinking, well, is he going to say something? When are we going to talk or make the om sound? Which I don't think we ever did that. But can you go deeper into why meditation is just so important and to calm your mind or not?
Another pandemic or epidemic that the world is facing today is mental health, mental illness.
Truth.
Right? And in some sense, it is difficult to control mind with mind. Right? Like we spoke a little bit about what you resist, persist. You want to forget something. The more you want to forget something, the more it is in your own mind, right? And that is where meditation helps. There are certain techniques to take you beyond the mind, take you beyond that. So you get into your own self. And once that is there, then see, we all have physical hygiene, dental hygiene, but we don't have tools and techniques for mental hygiene. Isn't it? That mental hygiene is meditation. Right? And a little bit of breath work is needed to prepare the mind to let go.
What's the best amount of time to meditate?
20 minutes. 20 minutes is I mean, people can sit for hour longs, and I've done that, and we can do that. But 20 minutes is good enough. Twice a day.
So 40 minutes.
20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the evening. So in one session, one sitting, 20 minutes. Then you can do it twice a day. See, why I'm saying twice a day is, you meditate before you come for work. So you don't carry the baggage from home to your work. You're fresh, you're present, you're creative when you come to work. And then you want to do that for your family when you go home. For your loved ones, whoever it is, whether it's your pet or whether it's somebody, right? When you go home, you don't want the baggage of the work to go back to your home. And so you meditate. So that's why twice a day.
Okay, twice a day. 20 minutes.
20 minutes twice a day.
That's 40 minutes?
That's 40 minutes in 24 hours. But it will make the rest of 23 hours and 20 minutes much better.
Okay, so I have a feeling that based upon our conversation today, there are going to be a lot of people who are listening or watching this. We're going to have questions for you.
Yes.
So I hope you guys send them to us at We Care Spa, and then we'll take those questions and we'll have Ashish come back and answer those questions either here or on our podcast, because I'm sure many people, we just scratched the surface.
Yes.
So I'm sure there'll be more questions coming in. So we'll do that and we'll talk again.
Lovely. Wonderful. Thank you for having me, Patrick.
Thank you.
Bless.